Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is your tropical update for September 23rd. We are watching Category 4 major hurricane Fiona, located over the North Atlantic, making its way towards Atlantic Canada as a very powerful hurricane. Severe Tropical Storm Gaston, located over the Azores as we speak. Tropical Depression 10 over the coast of Africa. And of course, Tropical Depression 9 in the Caribbean Sea, potentially bring major hurricane impacts to Florida by early or mid next week. We'll talk more about that now. The impact map as it shows, if you live in a hurricane prone area, you will likely have some sort of hurricane impacts within the next few days. If you're somewhere near, you either just had it or you're about to have it. Gaston bringing gusty winds and rain to the Azores. Tropical Depression 10 bringing 2 to 4 inches of rain for the Canary Islands off the coast of Western Sahara. Tropical Depression 9, of course, bringing massive impacts to the Caribbean and the Gulf later on, and Fiona bringing hurricane impacts to Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick, Quebec, just a lot of areas up there in Canada being affected by Fiona. Lots of rain, lots of wind, a very powerful and large hurricane making its way up there. But that will make landfall here within the next couple days. As it does so, and it moves rapidly up to the north, as it does so, all attention focuses on Tropical Depression 9, where, as you can see already, 2 to 4 inches of rain over the southern Dominican Republic, which obviously just got a whole bunch of rain from Fiona. Southern Haiti as well, with a little bit of rain. ABC Islands, Colombia, Venezuela, also getting rain from Tropical Depression 9. As it moves on with time, we're looking at another significant chunk of rain to Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Cuba getting even more rain than that, where it likely hit as a hurricane over that area in orange there, and then it'll make landfall likely somewhere along the southern, southwestern, south central, west-ish area, Florida coast, where it's red there. That's the high risk. Potential hurricane impacts. Would not be surprised to see this upgraded to significant or even extreme, not due to the winds necessarily, but mainly due to that storm surge impact on the north side of the storm. So if you're north of the landfall location, that's where you'll have the highest storm surge associated with Tropical Depression 9. The next two names on the list are Hermine and Ian. We'll see who gets it first, 9 or 10. Let's start with Fiona. We'll be brief on this. Lowest pressure north of 31 degrees north has been set by Fiona with a pressure of 932 millibars this morning. As we can see, I've already talked about it a lot. The storm's going to become post-tropical, as you could kind of see here. It's losing the tropical characteristics, getting absorbed by that trough, which is bringing the cold weather to the United States now, especially here in Ohio, where I'm at. Anyways, as Fiona moves up, hurricane winds, as well as all the impacts associated with a regular hurricane, are going to exist there. However, it won't be a hurricane by name necessarily. Hurricane warnings, tropical storm warnings will all remain in effect even after Fiona loses its tropical characteristics, thanks to what we learned from Sandy. Severe Tropical Storm Gaston, again, near the Azores as we speak. I did not update this satellite image, but it looks fairly similar, although it's getting pushed a little more in kind of similar to Fiona, is of course becoming post-tropical. As we can see here, it's looping around the Azores, where they're experiencing tropical storm winds as we speak. A very strong tropical storm at that. Tropical Depression 9, again, the main thing that we want to talk about today. You can see the rotation associated with this storm, as well as the convection currently over the center as we speak. And I just wanted to say real quickly, I mentioned that wrong earlier when I was talking about the landfall point. The storm surge is going to be highest on the south side of the storm. So areas like Naples, Marco Island really need to be watching this very carefully. And of course, the Everglades, all of that area is swamp. And so a little bit of surge is a lot of surge that far south. And so the stronger this gets, the more surge it gets. The more perpendicular to the coast that this storm hits, the greater storm surge. As you see at this point, it's going decently parallel, but not super parallel. Irma was a very parallel hitting storm to the coast. It moved basically from south to north, which was very good for the storm surge. It kept a lot of the storm surge down from what it could have been had it hit at 90 degrees. So this is a little more angled, which is not good for our storm surge concerns to South Florida. And therefore, of course, that major hurricane alert in effect for South Florida, they need to be getting their hurricane plans in place in southwestern Florida right now. Again, you don't have to evacuate now. I'm not saying that. Plan for that. You might have to here in the coming days. Probably come. I would hope Sunday or Monday those orders would be issued if they are necessary. But get your water, get your supplies. Get ready for a hurricane. I mean, even if it's just a Category 1, it's going to have storm surge, it's going to have rain, it's going to have wind, it's going to blow stuff around. I don't think it's going to be Category 1. The majority of models, as we can see here, don't think it's going to be a Category 1. At this point, all indications are that we will have a major hurricane making landfall in Florida in about 5 days from now, with significant impacts, including large storm surge to the south of the storm over Naples, Marco Island, Fort Myers, that vicinity in Lee and Collier counties. That's where we're going to watch. I didn't even remove the formation chances on this. I mean, the impacts are the big thing on Tropical Depression 9. So that's that. 99L, I won't bore you with it. 30% chance of formation in the next 5 days. Tropical Depression 10, moving from south to north along the coast of Africa. As we can see here, as I mentioned, the Canary Islands, right where it says 11 a.m. Monday, expecting 2 to 4 inches of rain associated with this storm. As a result, tropical alert in effect for that area. Again, didn't remove the odds of formation because I'm focused on 9. 9 is likely to be a major hurricane, or at least a hurricane in Florida. Yeah, it's Florida and hurricane. That's not a surprise to hear those two words in the same sentence. But you need to be watching that extremely carefully as it moves on. I mean, as you can see, there's a decent amount of spread still. There's good agreement. It's going to generally affect Jamaica, affect Cuba, make its way up to Florida, perhaps the Bahamas could see something as well. And it's also decent agreement that the storm is slowly going to get an increase in strength, but there's widespread, and will it be super far south Florida? Will it be central Cuba, far western Cuba? Will it be central or northern Florida? We don't know yet, but at this point, I mean, in the middle of everything, the dynamical models, you name it, southwestern Florida gets something out of this. If it goes to the north, southwestern Florida is getting the storm surge and, of course, rain and wind, but maybe removed from the center. If it hits southwest Florida, obviously it hits southwest Florida, and it has those impacts. If it hits southern Florida, it's still going to get rain and wind. It basically doesn't matter if you're along that Gulf Coast of Florida, say west central and southwestern Florida. So basically anywhere south of probably St. Petersburg on the Gulf Coast need to be watching Tropical Depression 9 very closely. The GFS, like I said, there's still a wide range. The GFS brings it a little bit further to the north. Some models don't even bring it into Florida, but the GFS has slowly been caving to the European and the rest of the models on 9. I expect that to continue to be the case. Of course, it could not, which is, again, why I'm not saying evacuate. There's no need to do that yet, but Tropical Depression 9, you need to be watching it because it's very likely that a powerful, large, destructive hurricane will make landfall in Florida within the next week. Within the next 5 days, it is probable that a Category 2 or greater hurricane hits Florida. Again, it's too early to say who's going to get exactly what impacts. It's too early to say where exactly in Florida. But if I were to name a location, like I said, south of St. Petersburg all the way down into and including the Keys on the Gulf side of Florida is the main threat with Tropical Depression 9. So unfortunately, I will be traveling in the next 2 days, and I will not be able to make a update video on Saturday and Sunday. As a result, I will be back on Monday, which will likely be when Tropical Depression 9 is near Cuba, I believe, Monday afternoon. I'm going to double check that. Yes, correct. I won't be back until the storm is near Cuba. It probably won't have made landfall on Cuba yet, but at that point, I would expect that evacuations, if necessary, will have been issued for Florida. If there's any significant changes, I'll try to get some sort of short video recorded for my phone. It'll be trashy, but it's the best I'm going to do. I might do that anyways, even if there's not a major update. But again, as much as I can, as much as I can stress it, Florida needs to be watching out, especially the regions in south of St. Petersburg down to the Keys along the Gulf Coast of Florida. That's all for now. Chris, extended further. Kathy, begin.